Hello, everyone. It's Saturday. It's Chat with Mac. We're glad to have you guys with us. For those of you that follow us every week and listen to us as we do this, it's a lot of fun. I look forward to it. We really appreciate you. And for those of you that are new to what we do, welcome, welcome, welcome. How's it going, boss? How's everything going?
Oh, going pretty good. Yeah.
So, hey, I wanted to kind of talk about uh, something that you foresaw. um I want to say maybe the beginning, no, not even the beginning of this year. um I want to say maybe about a year or two ago, you were talking about greater government input into various things as it pertains to data and things of that nature. And so, um, a couple of weeks ago, the FTC um, um, have been, or they're really not cracking down, but they wanted to change and get a handle on how companies handle consumer data. And like I said, I remember you back in the day, and I'm pretty sure it's in the wake of a lot of the breaches and everything that's been going on within the last, what are we, year three, I think, of the craziness that's been COVID. And and there's been crazy amount of breaches. And I keep telling people, and Nadeem has been damn near prophetic about a lot of what he said was going to happen, and now this. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe you can bring us through what the implications of this whole thing is with the FTC asking us.
Well, so let's backtrack a little bit. Um, First of all, I don't have a crystal ball. I just make deductions because, and this is when in Europe they had the GDPR
Yeah.
laws passed, and they were kind of cracking down on how companies handle consumer data.
Yep.
That's when it started, and I knew when that happened in Europe, I knew it was only a matter of time that it's going to happen here. And now with FTC, we see that that push to get more oversight into how are companies handling consumer data. And this is besides how companies are securing data. This is just how they're handling consumer data. So don't even worry about our company network secure or not. FTC is not really going from that angle. FTC is kind of pushing for protecting consumer data. So if you log into some company's website, let's say you create an account, you give them some information. How does that company protect that information? That's
Right.
your information. So how do they protect that? And that's really where they want more oversight. Now, having said that, I have to pose this question because I'm sure it's on the everybody's thinking about it. FTC, they can't even stop prank callers, spam callers. How are they going to implement this? You know, so let me just get that out of the way. I'm not really fond of FTC and all the doings of FTC, but at least there is something on the table now where they are saying, "Hey, we need better oversight into how companies are handling consumer data." Which as a consumer myself, that's something that I worry about because I don't want to. I mean, there's been instances where some company will ask me certain data when you sign up, and it's like, well, that's personally identifiable data. Why would you even need that just for me to, you know, use a service that, for example, unlocks a door, a lock on a door? Why
Yeah.
would you need to know when I was born, or why would you need to know, like the three security questions that are really personal, or let me create those questions, right?
That's fair.
But
That's
the
fair.
way those questions are, they're basically wanting to get a better understanding of my mindset and things like that. So they're collecting a lot of this data, and then of course, like the example of this. door lock application, the first thing any such app will ask you is, hey, do you want me to track your location? I really need to track your location. And it's like, okay, so on one side you're saying you want to track my location, on the other side you cannot do geo lock and unlock. Why do you need to track my location then? Now it would make sense to track location if it's automatically going to unlock a door when I get in a certain vicinity of it, I get a certain, radius from it. It's automatically going to unlock it. Okay, now I can see you need to know my location. But if you're not going to do that, or if you're saying you're going to charge me extra for that, then why at all do you need to know my location? So
Yeah.
So in situations like that, I love the idea of how Apple lets you block apps from accessing location data. So that gives me the option to, even if the app is not going to let me through without enabling it, I can enable it, get the app registered and everything, and then I can go into settings and disable access to location data for that app. So that's good from a consumer protection point of view, right? I don't want that app to know my data at all times. Of course, there's other things to consider, like if things are tracking certain data, it's using more battery and all that. But in this case, there's been laws on the books that really have not passed the muster through Congress or Senate, and so they've kind of failed in the past. But it is only a matter of time because I mean, companies even in the U.S. who do business with people from Europe, or somebody, a European country, national, they still have to follow certain things what GDPR requires, and we're seeing enterprises here who have to comply with GDPR laws because they do a lot of business overseas.
Yeah.
So it's only a matter of time. Um, but when GDPR became, the law, that's when really I knew it was only a matter of time that pretty much the whole world is going to follow behind that. And that's where now FTC is kind of pushing towards this. It may not pass this time, but maybe next time, or maybe the time after that, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time, because at the end of the day, the enterprises, companies that are collecting user data, they don't really have a lot of incentive to protect that data, and we've seen in the recent breaches. I mean, I mean, most well-known companies have had breaches. So what does that tell you, right? um, there is no incentive for companies to protect consumer data. It's almost like, well, we can spend, so much money protecting everything, or if we do have a breach, let's just pay the fine because it's cheaper.
That's a very unfortunate, man. That's a very unfortunate way to look at it, because at the end of the day, we the consumer unfortunately get stuck with the bad end of the deal. And like you said, the businesses are like, exact. And funny, the way you just described, I would have never thought of that until you said that. Like, whoa, that's I would have never thought that that's the thinking. But if you're, I hate to say this, God, it sounds horrible to say, but if you think of it from a conglomerate type of standpoint, it makes sense. Yeah. Ooh, that's horrible.
Yeah, and so on this case, I gotta side with the FTC, even though I'm not a fan of the FTC. But I think somebody needs to step in and have some kind of oversight that they can enforce enterprise to handle consumer data securely, and kind of like what they have with GDPR. You not only are you handling data in a secure way, but you have to delete data if a customer asks you to, or a customer closes an account. You can only keep the data for so long.
Right.
Right. So you can't just keep data indefinitely and keep selling it over and over to other third parties. You can't be doing that.
Yeah.
That's like monetizing data that you've collected, consumer data. And for with the internet economy, that is the model for a lot of companies where they'll give you something for free. You think it's free, but it's really not free because they're collecting your data and then they're monetizing that data. And who's the biggest company that does that comes to mind?
Facebook.
Well, Facebook is one, but even bigger than Facebook is Google. Google's been doing that way before Facebook.
That's actually a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah.
And the reason I say Google, because Google's whole model is to monetize by mining data and then advertising to people, right? That's how Google makes money. So Google can give you Gmail for free, but how are they making money is they're going to see, okay, you're talking about, let's say, a car, you're talking about, let's say, a Toyota. Well, it's going to see that, and then it's going to start giving you ads for Toyotas.
It's almost eerie. When I've seen that, I swear to you, Nadeem, I swear to you, there have been times where I talk about it. And I don't know. I have an Alexa, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, people. So don't look at it like. But I kid you not, there have been times where I'm just talking about it. I hop on my laptop, and boom, there's an ad for it. And I'm thinking to myself, damn, who's listening to? Who's listening?
Well,
or
it's not really.
It's weird,
Yeah, it's not really listening. But if something is top of mind, we end up electronically communicating that with somebody that we don't even realize that we did. That's how, I've seen it a lot of times, where I will talk about something on my computer, maybe I'm chatting with somebody, or I sent an email, or I searched for something on my computer, and then I go to the bedroom and I run YouTube, and YouTube is giving me an ad for exactly the same thing that I was talking about. Right.
I guess my question, is it inevitable? It just seems like, barring what the FTC is trying to do, it's just an inevitability for that data to be mined and essentially, used. And then it just feels like just what you're saying, doesn't matter what they do, it's going to happen.
Yeah, it is going to be mined. Data is always going to be mined, but what FTC is trying to do is put some borders around what you can do with that data and how you can handle that data.
Okay.
So it's just, it's not saying, hey, you can't collect data at all, because a lot of companies will go out of business if they did that. But what they're saying is, if you are collecting consumer data, this is how you should handle it. Right. That's good. So it's just putting some borders and restrictions around that. How that the data is handled. But I don't know. I think and I did a thought experiment a while back around this. It's like I presented this idea that we have the technology where a speed limit sign can transmit that maximum speed, and your car can then no longer go past that speed. Right? We have that technology. And I think some countries in Europe are already experimenting with this. I think UK is experimenting with it. I think I've read it somewhere. Anyway, so I did this thought experiment, and in the group, one of the people, I think he's a political science guy or something, and he gave me, his response was, you can do that in a lot of other countries, but that will never happen in the U.S.
It won't. Yeah.
Because and I understand his point of view. It was like, no, it's never going to happen here. We want to have the option of speeding if we want to, and if we need to pay the fine, we'll pay the fine. But we're never going to limit people from being able to do that. So it's and it's something similar, but at a different level.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, the companies, they want to collect and do anything they want with the data they're collecting for their users. They want full autonomy over that data. But then somebody needs to step in and say, hey, no, these are the walls that you can play in. You cannot go outside of these walls. This is your sandbox. You play here because somebody else is playing over there.
Yeah.
We don't want to, have cross contamination there.
Yeah.
So that's what FTC is trying to do. And I think it's going to happen because it only makes sense just because of not only the amount of data that we have right now on each person, but how it is growing exponentially.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we thought, a couple of years ago that, we've kind of, maybe we've hit peak. You can only collect so much data from users, and then all of a sudden location services started. People started wearing watches and carrying smartphones that knew your location all times. I mean, you can search for this in Google. Like Google, you can kind of, and it's really weird. You can see where you've been with your phone in Google Maps, and it can track where you've been, even though you did not actively record that, but it knows where you have been in a certain geographic region. And it's amazing to kind of see your habits. I mean, you can learn a lot from that location data. So it's only a matter of time. I think it's gonna happen. It's just we're a little late, but I think it's gonna happen. We can't get around that. So in this case, there's a lot of things that are happening. There's the breaches that are happening. There's the manipulation and access to data is becoming easier for everybody. Yes. So companies that do not have the infrastructure to secure their user data, their customer data, but it's so easy to collect it that they're collecting it.
Yeah.
And I think we need to have something in place, because we don't want any Joe Blow to collect any other person's data and then not secure it properly and monetize that data. So I think it's going to happen. But like I said, I don't have any crystal ball. I'm just going by what I see and what I hear, and things that are already happening across the pond, which I think it's just going to happen here. We're a little late to the game, but we'll get there.
Nadeem, to your point, and I think we've done security webinars in the past. It might be time for another one soon. We'll see if we can get people interested in hearing this, because I think even on the enterprise level, this is such a big thing, for small businesses, especially. And I don't know, and you kind of bring this, to top of mind. I don't know how enforceable this is going to be, if they're going to be able to actually, do something with this. But, as I'm thinking and as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, well, how does this impact the SMB space? The consumer space we get, the SMB space, that's going to be interesting to see how that.
Yeah, enforcement is going to be an issue, just because there's so many small to medium-sized businesses out there. How are you going to enforce it? And then, of course, there's always going to be a few companies that are going to be like, well, let's just play hard and loose, and if we get fined, we'll just pay the fine.
Yeah,
because usually the fines are just a slap on the wrist, right? They don't want to do the right thing. It's not in their culture, so they'd rather just pay the fine. When we are looking to onboard a customer, and people may have heard from you about this, yep, we always try to make sure that we understand the culture of the customer that we're thinking about onboarding and bringing on.
That's big for us, yeah.
Because we don't want to just onboard a company that is totally 180 from what we believe in and what our culture is. Because that's never going to work. It's like one of those things where, it's not always about just making money.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to do the right thing.
That's it. That's it.
And that's what we strive for, and that's why we try to get to know a prospect much more intimately than a lot of other companies out there, to make sure that we are in alignment as far as the company culture goes.
And I think that's what really sets us apart at PCSN. And quite honestly, I was talking to a client earlier today. Well, no, not earlier today, earlier last week. And he said something, and forgive us, folks, we're not trying to toot our own horn, but, while we're here, it was just interesting to hear him say how thorough and knowledgeable, and more importantly, he's like, it looks like you guys are just not here to try to get my money. That was huge for me, to hear that.
Oh wow, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
That was huge, in that thoroughness. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. That I'm glad that you bring that up, because that's a big thing.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we've had discussions like this before with customers, where we've said to customers, hey, we can't do business because either we're going in different directions, or you so here was I sit on the board of another company, and I was talking to one of the guys, and there was an interesting thing that came up, and I like to talk to people who are the first line of defense, right? The people who are interfacing with customers. And he said, oh yeah, so-and-so customer, we love him, but man, when he's talking to management, he's a totally different person. And when he's talking to, people doing the work, he is not the nicest person out there. And of course, I don't interact with these customers at this company. So I told him, I was like, well, does the management know? Did you let the management? And he did. So he did the right thing. He told management, hey, I don't really want to work with so-and-so customer, because it's not just me, it's everybody here. We just, he would talk down to them, and just rude. But then he would talk to management, and he's a totally different person. And some personality types are that way. They think the only way they can get something done is if they are kind of coming with that brute force mentality.
Yeah.
Like they just want to push, and that's not what it's all about. I mean,
at all. No.
So it's interesting to see the dynamics of that, and we have a meeting on, I think, on Monday nights, Monday afternoons, and I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to say, hey, as a company, you should try to figure out who you want to do business with. Don't just pick any Joe Blow down the street to do business with them.
No.
You can be picky on who you are doing business with, and then you can excel at what you do that way, because now your clients, you are happy. Everybody in your company is happy to work with your clients, and that's where you want to be.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So I think with that, Mac, we'll call it a day. Sure. So folks, GDPR things are on the books. They are going to happen. Maybe not, in the immediate next, few months to a year time frame, but eventually they are going to happen. It's only a matter of time. So if you are collecting consumer data, I would say start implementing best practice around that. It's one of the things that I like to say is, if you're following industry standard, then you should already be way past what the bare minimum requirements in your industry are from government. That what government is enforcing, that is the bare minimum. You should already be above that. You should be way above that. So you shouldn't have to try to jump through hoops just to get your, so you can pass the government minimum baselines. That's if you have to do that, then something's wrong. You should already be way ahead of that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So with that, Mac, hope you have a great weekend, and then we'll see you next week. And everybody, be safe out there.
Everybody have a good one. Bye.